About this time of year, it's when I often reflect. I'm sure you're the same way. What has worked in 2019? What do I want for my 2020? It's a great time to be able to take stock and reflect and to evaluate what we most want. And it is very important that we also are honest with ourselves about our failures. And it's not a popular thing to talk about or to think about. It takes a lot of energy. It's often something that takes a hit to our ego. However, I'd like to suggest that if it's not now, when do we reflect on what has not worked? And now, a lot of you will know me as a very solution-focused practitioner. We very much are future-focused. We like to think about what is possible and what do I most want going forward? What are my best hopes? And I'm going to suggest to you that is a bridge between studying and understanding and being honest about our failures that it can actually lead to some of our greatest solutions going forward for success in the future. And because it is often taboo to talk about failure, why don't I go first? I have had 3 incredibly challenging and bad hiring decisions in 2019. What that has resulted in is I've had months where I haven't been able to do sales prospecting, which has impacted my bottom line. I've spent a lot of money training, retraining. I've had products that have gone to market late. In fact, some that almost did not fulfill obligations from my clients. And I will tell you, I've had more than one teary, emotional moment that has been a hit to my ego as well as the pocketbook. If you ask my family, they too will have seen all of the war wounds of these difficult decisions. Now, I share this with you both to acknowledge that failure happens with all of us and also because an HR professional made those 3 bad hiring decisions. Now, the good news is on the other side of it is I've learned a lot from this. I've been able to figure some things out that I will take forward in my business, not just next year, for the rest of my business. And I've also figured out some issues that probably were there long before these challenging hiring decisions. And I want to teach you the formula that I figured out along the way. It's not all new, perhaps to you. It's definitely not all new to me. And it's the times when we experience our greatest challenges that we are able to circle back and relive the lessons that we have always known. Would you agree? Here are the 5 most important lessons that I have learned and relearned this year. Number 1, when you experience a failure, an obstacle, a setback, a roadblock, you need to do a root cause analysis. And that's just a fancy way of saying we need to ask ourselves why enough time until we get to the bottom, the root issue of that. What was the cause? What was the reason? What were the reasons, the contributing factors why that failure or repeated series of related failures happened? When we know the root issue, and I will warn you, it takes you being really honest with yourself and being able to have a strong ego to be able to get to that root issue. But once you do, you will be able to then take the next step is to look at the other aspects of your career, your business, your life, to see if that root issue exists anywhere else. Because not just in my case, I can tell you this from doing this as an organizational development practitioner, whether it be my own work or working with others, that root issue exists other places. It just maybe hasn't been causing us a problem up to now. So the second step is see and notice where else it could be showing up in your work, in your life, and make appropriate corrections. And on that note, the third step is to create a plan. What are the things that you need to do to course correct so that going forward, it will not continue to happen? For example, for me, the root issue of why these hiring mistakes were happening was that the growth in my business was happening quicker than we could put solid plans in place, core foundational strategies and standard operating procedures and ways of doing our work so that they were easily replicable and shareable. And what ended up happening was when I did this root cause analysis is pulled back, and the very first step of my plan was I rebuild the shaky standard operating procedures that we had and I worked them myself before I passed them on to somebody else. And so that when you have your plan and you begin working your plan, you can continue to course correct before it gets out of hand again. My fourth suggestion to you is to share what is going on and ask for help. So many times I was hesitant to do a Facebook Live or to share with a colleague or even to tell my family what I was struggling with in my business, which meant that I did not ask for help nearly enough. I just felt like I needed to manage it all myself, or I just hoped that I could quickly get this under control. It took months. Imagine how many times I would have been distracted or irritable or even just frustrated, and how other people probably picked up on that. Not only that, but because I wasn't able to do as much prospecting while I was trying to get my business back in order and be doing retraining and refocusing of my new staff, it meant that I wasn't doing some of the business development work. Perhaps I could have reached out to some of my colleagues and asked them if they could help refer me to some folks, because I wasn't doing the outsourcing of my business and the cold calling that I normally would do. Ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are in control of your business and that you know what you need. The last thing that I would suggest is for you to acknowledge and celebrate your successes along the way. When you begin to see the signs that things are turning around, notice them and acknowledge them. And even if it's just acknowledging them for yourself, recognize the greatness even in the chaos, even when everything is not perfect yet, because it frankly probably will never be perfect. But notice the progress that you're making along the way and celebrate it. This is often the time when people start to be able to open up to folks. Open up earlier than that, and then have people celebrate along with you when you're making progress. I hope this has been helpful for you by me sharing transparently that even the person who wrote the book, Flip Side of Failing, still found herself in times where it was challenging to mitigate and deflate and then elevate from those failures, but it can happen. I'm super excited about 2020 as it is quickly upon us, and I am so much more excited about it because of being able to see the other side of these failures, knowing that there's such a solid foundation in place for success going forward. Who would you like to share this video with and ask for help? Maybe you want to message them, maybe you want to text them, perhaps you want to put it out there in a more broad format and say, hey, I'm going through some challenges. I know other people are too. Who wants to support each other in community? Share this with somebody or ask for help in your own way, because together we can be greatness magnified.